It is mid-March and I'm going to be planting some potatoes in wood chips. Something that I have seen various accounts of online with very mixed results, but also lacking in the rigidity of their scientific testing. Not saying I'm going to do that much better, but I am going to keep records and run a few different variants to see if I can grow potatoes in wood chips. For this experiment, I'm using grow bags for all of them so I can monitor the results closely and make sure the different experiments stay separated. There'll be 4 different bags, one with fresh wood chips, one with aged wood chips with varying amounts of potash, and then finally a mix of composted wood chips and dirt. This idea originally stemmed from the fact that potatoes don't need a lot of nitrogen. Not that they don't need nitrogen at all, but not a lot of nitrogen. And in theory, the aged wood chips, now that they've been broken down, should be freeing up some of the nitrogen. I have a lot of aged wood chips, and I don't have a lot of dirt to add to these bags, and that was the seed idea for this experiment. I'm using organic baby potatoes from the grocery store that I allowed to start sprouting and get eyes on them. Organic potatoes because conventional potatoes can be sprayed with a growth inhibitor. Now, I don't think that the fresh wood chips are going to do well because they could tie up all the nitrogen, but we shall see. The aged wood chips will have less nitrogen draw, so I'm expecting better results here. For the mix with composted wood chips and dirt, I'm aiming for a balance that allows for both moisture retention and good root development. I actually do want to grow some potatoes. And then additionally, as somewhat of a control, I planted a few seed potatoes in a more traditional manner, in the ground, and mulched with composted wood chips. As the weeks go by and the potatoes were growing, I topped them off with the same type of wood chips that they had originally and made sure that everything was going along smoothly. Okay, it has been a few months now and I think it is time to harvest the potatoes. They're all in different stages of dying back. Something like this where it's still really green might be good for new potatoes. These are where I would typically harvest the potatoes now, so they're yellow, almost all the way dyed back. And this first one right here, which was just the wood chips, completely dyed back to the ground, which is probably a function of the lack of nutrients. So we will be seeing what our results are in our different combination of wood chips, the age of wood chips, and amendments. So let me start taking these out and dumping them to see what we got. Fresh wood chip bag. There's at least one tater. 2, 3. Starting with 3 potatoes, I grew 3 potatoes. Not a great start. Aged wood chips with 1 teaspoon of amendment. Another lizard. Okay, a few more potatoes, but not a ton. Aged wood chips and 2 teaspoons. 1 tater. 2. So this is less. This experiment is questionable at best. And the last bag. These are wood chips plus soil. Potato, 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 potato. This may be the most potatoes out of anyone, but still absolutely pitiful. Let's check the weight. For the potatoes grown in fresh wood chips, I started off with 140 gram of seed potato and produced only 133. It went down. For the second one, aged wood chips with 1 teaspoon of potash, I started with 125 grams of potatoes, but ended up with 315 grams of potatoes. So I did grow more potatoes than I started out with. For the aged wood chips that had 2 teaspoons of potash, I started off with 123 grams of potatoes and did produce more, but only 157 grams total of potatoes. And then lastly, the soil and wood chips, which started off with 125 grams of potatoes and 1 teaspoon of potash that I thought was going to do the best. Well, that was only 243 grams in potatoes. Okay, the results from the potatoes in the grow bags with the various wood chips and mulches Not impressive, but let's see how my potatoes that are in the ground, what they look like. Now with these, I did not weigh them to begin with, but I'm just going to harvest 3 plants because roughly they were all about the same weight when I had 3 seed potatoes together. So we'll see how those look. Do I have 2? I have 2 left-handed gloves. No gloves. Okay, already this is looking better. I mean, this one is still green. Probably too early, but that's a good tater. Look at all of these. From 3 seed potatoes, still mulched with broken down wood chips. So I don't need to weigh this to know that it's more, but I will. Now I definitely think that this was a worthwhile experiment. For me, when growing in grow bags, even with any combination of wood chips, not worth it. From fresh to aged and even aged wood chips mixed with soil, didn't work out well. Maybe it was the number of seed potatoes in the bag, but 3 should have been fine for the size of the bag that I was using. Maybe also it was just drying out, moisture retention. Those bags are going to dry out a lot more. But comparing it to how many potatoes I grew in ground, so these had ground contact, but they were still mulched with aged wood chips, way better. Night and day. Very easy to see. So when people are talking about growing potatoes in wood chips, what I really think that they're talking about is mulching them in wood chips. Still having some ground contact, but piling wood chips on top. That ground contact is going to be enough to pull that nitrogen up and other things that it needs, the phosphorus, the potassium, but it's not talking about growing straight in wood chips, which makes sense. Wood chips are going to be relatively inert material. It's all going to be bound up as they're breaking down. Hopefully you found this video to be enlightening, useful. If you were thinking about growing potatoes in wood chips, now you know maybe how to do it the best way. Ground contact, mulch with wood chips. If you have any questions, let me know. My name is Tyler Lloyd, and I wish you the very best. See you later.